Here. Thank you, P. Donif. Um, Good morning, everyone. This is the first meeting for the new for the year 2022. Thank you all for coming out this morning. Kick off our first meeting for the month, and this month is our vocational service month. I would like to invite Rotarian Eric, who we seen a few minutes ago, to give us our invocation for this morning and start us off in prayer. Thank you very much.
Good morning, all. I don't mind that halo around my head. I'm not a saint. Let us pray. Loving Father and our God, we are thankful for you this morning. We pray your blessing upon us as we partner with Rotary and you to do a good work out there. Bless this meeting and all our participants and members and guests. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Eric. I'd like to invite Rotarian Archelaine to give us our royal toast for this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, President Therese. And I just want to welcome Rotarians and friends on the other side. We've said goodbye to 2021 and we're now in 2022. We're excited to be here. And so I invite you on this wonderful morning to raise your glasses or your mugs, your teacups in loyal toast to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
To the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
To the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Thank you. Back to you, President Therese.
Thank you, Archelaine. To give our visitors and visiting Rotarians and guests a warm welcome, I'd like to invite our secretary to give us our invitation. Welcome.
Good morning, all, and Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. We don't have any visitors with us as yet for the morning. So I'd like to say a special Happy New Year and welcome to all of you. I hope you enjoy this morning's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Akima. And just to know that we have a raffle prize this morning. I'd like to invite Tanisha just to show our raffle prize for the morning, to get us all excited for giving and trying to win this prize for this morning, sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, President Therese. Happy New Year. So this morning, our raffle prize is a $50 gift card from John Bull. As you know, let me remind you though, that the card can be used at all of their affiliated stores, which will be Gucci, MAC, Cosmetic Boutique, Pandora. So you would have many options with this gift card. So this morning we're going to be raffling it off for 1 for 5, 3 for 10. You can purchase your tickets in the chat. Please support the raffle. Thank you very much. Back to you, President Therese.
Thank you very much, Tanisha. Just want to say thank you to all Rotarians who have been giving the raffle prize this year. I mean, it's really been a good support for us to be able to get funds into our accounts and be competitive in our raffle prizes. So please continue to provide awesome prizes and our members to support the raffle each week in obtaining a raffle prize. I'd like to now invite our Sergeant of Arms, Kendrick, to give us our jokes and fines for this morning, please. I don't see Kendrick on this morning. Right before I don't know if Patrick has any jokes this morning, but I don't see any Kendrick on this morning. But I'd like to take a moment just to welcome our guest speaker this morning, Mr. John Rolle, who just recently joined. This one is a big special thing. Recognition to you, Mr. Rolle.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
So for fines, the license to all Rotarians on the call this morning, a $3 fine for all Rotarians on the call this morning. Just on the fines note. Patrick, put you on short notice, y'all. But if you have any, that's fine.
Good morning. Okay, there was this blonde. She was in this parking lot one day, and the parking lot was full. I mean, she ride around for like about 10 minutes, couldn't find a parking space. So she stopped, she bent her head down and she said, Lord, please let me find a parking space. If you allow me to find a parking space, I will go to church and I will be a good Christian from here on in. So she lifted up her head, opened her eyes, and right in front of her, a parking space opens right up. She bends her head back down and said, Lord, never mind, I find one.
Oh my goodness. Very good, Patrick. Very good.
That
Blonde boy.
was a good impromptu one, Patrick. Awesome. We have we're gonna celebrate our anniversaries and birthdays this morning. I have to invite Gwen if there are any anniversaries and birthdays to celebrate this morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year once again. So we had two lovely ladies celebrated birthdays this week on the same day, no less. Marsha and Jerice, they both celebrated on Tuesday the 4th. I'd like to once again wish them happy birthday. Hope they both had fantabulous days and all the blessings to them. Thank you. Those are our only two, President.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Yes. Wish this ladies a belated happy birthday and hope you enjoy your day. I'd open up the floor now for any announcements for people on the club. I know Patrick has a exciting stuff on deck for the vocational month, and we look forward to seeing what's in store for this month. So, any other announcements? Sorry.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, President Perez.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Rotarians. Happy New Year. Recently, a few of us came together and created a Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise Golf WhatsApp group to basically bring together persons who are interested in playing golf. We were looking to get some group lessons from Jimmy Delancey. So we're trying to figure out who all would be interested, and we can get back to him with a list of persons so he can give us a group rate. So if you are interested, you can just stay back after the meeting so we can discuss, I guess, what time during the week would be best for everyone to meet, and we can go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. Are there any other announcements or for the club this morning? If there aren't any, I'd like to invite Keith back to give us our Rotary Minute for this morning.
Thank you again. The Rotary Minute for this morning would be on vocational service. Vocational service is the second avenue of service. No aspect of Rotary is more closely related to each member than a personal commitment to represent one's vocation or occupation to fellow Rotarians and to exemplify the characteristics of high ethical standards and the dignity of work. Programs of vocational service are those which seek to improve business relations while improving the quality of trades, industry, commerce, and the professions. Rotarians understand that each person makes a valuable contribution to a better society through daily activities in a business or profession. Vocational service is frequently demonstrated by offering young people career guidance, occupational information, and assistance in making vocational choices. Some clubs sponsor high school career conferences. Many recognize the dignity of employment by honoring exemplary service of individuals working in their communities. The four-way test and other ethical and laudable business philosophies are often promoted among young people entering the world of work. Vocational talks and discussion of business issues are also typical vocational service programs at most clubs. Regardless of the ways that vocational service is expressed, it is the banner by which Rotarians recognize the worthiness of all useful occupations and demonstrate a commitment to high ethical standards in all businesses and professions. That's why the second avenue of service is fundamental to every Rotary Club. This is the Rotary Minute for the Day. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. It's awesome spotlights, especially to talk topical as we are in Vocational Month. I'd like to invite Rotarian Leah Kala to give us our Rotary Spotlight for this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, President Therese. I am pleased this morning to present to you the vocational series on our very own President Therese. And I think it's more than fitting considering the month that we're in. So Therese grew up on New Providence, raised by a single mother in an extended family home. His grandparents played a pivotal role in his upbringing, installing Christian values and godly principles. He is a graduate of Bahamas Academy, where he was an honor student for his entire tenure. For his tertiary education, he went to Northern Caribbean University, located in Mandeville, Jamaica, and successfully completed his Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration with an emphasis in accounting. Upon returning home to the Bahamas, Therese worked for an offshore bank and trust company for approximately 7 years as a trust accountant, where he garnered much experience in business and the financial industry. From the trust world, Therese later completed a brief stint with the accounting team at Bahamas Power and Light. It was during this time that he successfully completed his CPA examinations. To gain even more experience in the fields of his interests, he later joined KPMG accounting firm, also known as one of the big four worldwide firms. It was there that he was able to truly find success through the exposure of working on public and privately held companies of various industries such as banking, insurance, hospitality, and wholesale. After almost a decade in the accounting firm, he joined and is presently at Sterling Global Financial as the financial controller, where he oversees the financial operations of the Sterling Group of companies. It was 15 years ago that Therese joined the greatest little club in the galaxy, the Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise, of course. Over the years, he remained committed to Rotary's motto, service above self, and enjoys being active with his club to help serve in the community. He has held various positions within the club over the years, including treasurer from 2011, as well as 2012, secretary in 2019, and of course, he is our current president. Therese is also an active member of Grace Community Church, where he's been a member for 14 years, and where he's also a part of the administration team and the Truth and Training Boys Club as an Awana leader. He is married to, his favorite pastime is playing fantasy sports of all sports and spending time, of course, with family and friends. He is married to his beautiful wife of 13 years, Kate and Neil, and from their union, they have two very amazing, healthy, and smart children, Luke, who's 11, and Zoe, who is 8. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a bit more about our president this morning. And President Therese, I turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah Kala. Appreciate you reading my bio this morning. I would now like to invite Patrick to introduce our guest speaker for this morning.
Good morning again. Mr. John Rolle was appointed governor of the Central Bank of the Bahamas in January of 2016. Prior to this, he served as the financial secretary in the Ministry of Finance, and before this, he served as executive board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and a senior advisor to the executive directors for Canada, Ireland, and the Caribbean constituencies. The governor's substantive career for 1990 to 2012 was also in central banking in various economical policies research capacities. In addition, he has contributed as an adjacent lecturer in the economics at the American University 2008 in Washington, D.C., and for many years as a part-time lecturer in economics and statistics in the College of the Bahamas. He holds a graduate degree in economics from the American University in Washington, D.C. and Charleston University in Ottawa, Canada, and is an undergraduate of the University of Western Ontario, Canada, and the College of the Bahamas. The governor has also earned the right to use the Chartered Financial Analysis, CFA designate. The governor has published scholastically articles in a number of professional journals and maintains research interests in monetary, physical, and exchange rate policies. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians and guests, let us welcome Mr. John Rolle, Governor of the Central Bank of the Bahamas. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. Rotarians, it's a pleasure to be meeting with you, especially since we're able to do it over Zoom. Because if not, and depending on the determination of the competent authority, or whatever you deem them, I'd be on my school run right now. But I did do some research to understand exactly, what happens during vocational month, and I think what your club and others do is quite commendable in trying to expose upcoming young people to career potential. This morning, I want to speak about the vocation and career opportunity from a central banking point of view, not myself specifically, but the central bank, and to talk a bit about the mandate of the bank, how it ties into vocation, the kinds of skill sets we draw upon, and how the bank actively, tries to promote interest in those areas. The work of Rotary also, I think, causes us to think a lot more about what we can do in terms of our outreach to motivate interest in various careers. And I think, too, in all of this is the one thing that we perhaps do not speak too much to now is really, how do you focus on ensuring more equal access to education as the foundation for vocational training? Because the pandemic demonstrates a lot of issues around inequalities in our system that we need to address, but it goes deeper than the pandemic. And I think it will force us as a country to focus on resources that are supposed to be available for education and training, as opposed to a model where successfully a lot of us would have had the benefit of scholarships and private sponsors, etc. But for where we need to go, I do believe as a country, we have to aim higher than that. So in terms of let me just say that my underlying career is as an economist, and the interesting thing about economists in terms of where they end up, you have such a broad choice, But central banking is one of those. So if you search globally in central banks, you will find that in this role, as well as in the roles of financial sector regulators on the whole, economics tends to be, or finance-related exposures, the strong background. And also when you look in the political sphere, in terms of how political administration typically select their ministers of finance, economists stand out because there are some skill sets and training that they come to the job with that support them in that role. And so from that point of view, I think it's important to understand that it's not particularly the quote unquote governor, but the economist side. But at the central bank, in terms of the skill sets and the vocations that matter, you have to look at the mandate of the bank and how it ties into the kinds of talent and skills that come into the role. One of the focuses of the bank is that we have to ensure the safety of our financial institutions. And part of safety relates to making certain that depositors who have funds in financial institutions do not lose their funds. Your money's there when you need it. And so that leads to a set of skill sets around how you monitor and assess financial institutions to ensure that they are safe and sound on an ongoing basis. And so that speaks to some of the aspects of safety and soundness, and immediately some of you might begin to identify with what the skill sets are. But there's the other layer there, which is policy. And policy for us is really trying to deliberately decide, whether ethical, philosophical, or other reasons, what the outcome should be, whether they're desirable or outcomes which reduce undesirables. And so from that point of view, that is also very important in terms of the skill set that we try to cultivate. Other area of focus for the central bank, one that you all identify with on a daily basis, maintaining the stability of the currency. And that is related to how much our money is worth in exchange or trade against the rest of the world. Particularly important for a country like the Bahamas, because so much of what we consume, we have to import. And therefore, that's a price element that the stability of the currency supports. And understanding how the economy works as economists, financial analysts, help in charting that course. We also have a mandate around well-functioning payment systems. That's finance and related, but it also leads to actionable activities for a central bank. The central bank also has a mandate to think about how the functioning of the financial system ties into economic progress and development. That's secondary compared to the stability of the currency, safety and soundness. But safety and soundness has some role to play in there. But it really gets at the point that you have to be careful when you have too many goals, how you prioritize them, and you have to make some trade-offs. But to the extent that things line up, we also focus on how the evolution of our financial system benefits the economy overall. Central bank, or particularly, say, the governor, and all of the support that sits underneath the governor, we provide advice to the Minister of Finance. And that is not just for the sake of saying, oh, here's some free advice that the minister can get, but it recognizes that there are things that happen in public finance that tie into the rest of the economy and have impacts, interactive impacts on what the central bank does, and that there has to be a harmonious approach to the way a Ministry of Finance and public financial policy is formulated relative to what's happening at the central bank. And so the central bank, in providing advice to the Minister of Finance, is drawing upon the understanding of those interrelationships and the impact that certain actions taken by the government could have, good or bad, on those outcomes. So to deliver on those mandates, first of all, you got to understand how the economy works. And when I say understand how the economy works, you got to understand economics, got to understand a bit about human nature, human behavior, how we as users of the financial system behave in certain ways relative to our personal interests, how the operators and managers of financial institutions might behave differently, because all of that now ties into how you're going to formulate advice. And it also ties into the kinds of rules around governance that you might impose on financial institutions. You have to understand how, for example, as financial institutions, the environment in which they operate determines how they behave. And I say that only in passing because, you know, one of the very exciting topics that you all like to look at is, say, the subject of bank fees. And maybe we should regulate bank fees or we should do something else. Yes, that's an example of a policy issue. But the other side of understanding the environment is recognizing that there are many moving parts. And therefore, if you fix certain parts of the system, you have to be prepared for the adjustments that show up good or bad elsewhere. Or you anticipate and you design approaches that tries to fix not the symptoms, but the underlying causes for what we might be experiencing. So that's a convoluted way of saying that in our system, the most important focus is to address the efficiency of the environment that the financial institutions operate within. And that's a deep issue. It goes for much further than just fixing the fees, even though I think we can do some interventions there selectively. The other side of that is from understanding the needs and how the economy works is understanding what's important to the populace and the citizenry. And so, you know, we do some of that by taking out surveys and the like. And so now you need the skill set to analyze those surveys and sort out the messages that comes across in those. And then the other side of this process, when you throw in the term policy into the mix, is recognizing that now it's more than just understanding how, say, for example, a piece of mechanical device works or an economy works, but now trying to set some targets for the kind of results that you want, how you can monitor the system. So in a code is we're talking about the data and the statistics, but also setting rules and regulations to define the directions that we want to go in. So that's the side of our work that addresses policy. And we tend to think of policy, particularly from the point of view of trying to get outcomes that benefit the country. And therefore, that's very important. And on the regulatory side, some of the issues that we deal with, if you're tying it back to economics and finance, looking at businesses as standalone entities and how they behave. So that's in the fancy terminology, theory of industrial organization. But on the other side, there's a macro view when you sum everything together, and there's a lot of focus in those areas too. You know, whether it's inflation or growth or your foreign reserves. And so those are aggregate level focuses. The kinds of skill sets that we need, and I won't touch on all of them, but I just want you to appreciate that once you have the fundamentals, you cover. And you acquire a lot through experience, but to acquire the most of experience, you have to come with the right foundation. We need economists and financial analysts. And this is because they have preparation where they can use their mathematical and other skill sets to look into data, to do simulations and models and to summarize data, to identify patterns and what's going on, and communicate. So communication is very important. And when I say communication is important, there isn't any job that happens that any of us do in this country that we shouldn't be able to explain to, say, a preschooler what it is that we do and the importance of it. And the reason why I use that test is because it will force you to come out from behind all the technical jargon of the career, but it will also force you to recognize that there is supposed to be some outcome that is relatable to those people. Because if your child, for example, can't explain to their cohort, what your parents do, you have to fix that and get them to understand. And that is why I think the communication side of it becomes very important. Some of the examples that draw out the skill set is when we look at, from a policy point of view, what is involved from a central banking or regulatory point of view of trying to manage the system to prevent bank failures. There's a lot of forecasting, projections, monitoring, but also understanding the behavior of businesses and firms and how the environment impacts those. So you tend to hear a lot about simulation and analysis. Or we look at foreign reserves and we go through a pandemic and say, well, how do we come up with the way we should conduct ourselves as a country to make sure we don't lose all of the reserves? What are the factors to tie into that? Some of it is the American tourist, but a lot of it is also how we react while we are in lockdown and we spend the resources or we borrow to cover our costs. So a lot of issues there. Digital finance, from a policy point of view, we say this is important, but human nature plays a very important role in the process of understanding, the cultural psyche, the needs, the concerns of the public is important, which means now you got to have the skills to go there and acquire the information and analyze the information. But now you have to be able to communicate to address those issues. So that's an example. And then financial resilience. We say in the case of the Bahamas that it's a good thing to try and get the citizens to a better place in terms of their own personal financial health and the financial health of and resilience at a household or family level. And so what is involved with that? Again, understanding the human nature of us all, but also the circumstances and the kinds of messaging that one has to formulate and get across. For these and many of the careers, and I recognize some of you, the core, mathematics and English. Yes, you're going to learn how to do research and how to analyze data, but you're going to be using mathematical techniques to manipulate it. There's a lot of, by way of, management skills, because, somebody has to manage, these complex operations. And then a lot of what we do tend to be defined projects, with a start and finish. And so there are project management skills needed. But the mathematics and the English, yes, you might say computer science and all the others, I agree. But math and the comfort at the core level, prepares you and opens you up to so many of the other possibilities. We talk about professions which add value in financial sector as well as in central banking to the economists, statisticians, people with understanding of industrial organizations, which is basically the economics of how businesses operate in trying to maximize their outcome and returns. We have financial analysts, is very important. Law is important because regulations and understanding how to use the legal system to achieve results is important in regulation. Accounting ties in with finance. You're looking at financial institutions, their financial data, their balance sheets, understanding, how those are constructed and understanding how to deconstruct them. The only ways you're going to be able to tell if institutions are running into difficulties or, likely to have challenges. Technology is important now, not just from the point of view of your internal operations, but technology has risen to the same level as finance and law from the point of view that one of the big risks that businesses face generally is around their technology. And so technology is one of the areas where things can go wrong in a very destabilizing way within financial institutions. And so now, from a regulatory point of view, you have to have, that as a strong skill set to make your independent assessment as to whether financial institutions have the sound grounding in technology. And for those of you who are in the accounting profession, you know that when you do your annual audit, you spend a lot of time focusing on technology risk within businesses. And so that further illustrates why it is important for our profession as central bankers and related. Experience in banking, experience in finance, experience in understanding the markets, and nowadays experience in financial technology or fintech, very important. Somewhere in this, though, we have to separate out how people will grow in their vocation by exposure and experience to various areas, I think, and compared to the foundational preparation that comes in. But certainly all of these matters, because if you're a regulator and you're looking at banks, you better understand, on some levels or the other, how banks operate. And that comes most directly by having people sometimes in your group who've worked in banks. The understanding all of these kinds of needs, it's in our interest to promote vocational interests. And that is partly because, frankly, in the Bahamas, this is a small country. And the term that has been used more recently is, do you build or buy? Meaning, if you have enough money, you can go there and you can find people who are already experienced and talented, and you can pay them and you can recruit them. It doesn't matter how much money some businesses have in the Bahamas, buying is not always the executable, feasible option. So build is important, but in your individual space, maybe you can do a little bit of buying, but building is important. And so there is a lot of focus on cultivating those skills. And I think in the Bahamas, that's part of the reason why this vocational month is important, because I think this is a part of the building process at a national level. We don't have the resources of other countries where they can just, be on the receiving side or the benefiting side, say a brain drain. So we have to build. The career fairs are important in letting people see how their skills can be put to use. We do a lot, and we're getting deeper into financial literacy focused activities. One of the things that we've just concluded for the second year is our financial literacy video essay competition, and it's deliberately designed to encourage people to go there and research and find out and understand, how things work, and to begin to understand a lot more about the economy. And in that process, some of these individuals, get turned on to new careers. Inside the central bank, we have an apprentice program, so that's our way of recruiting people, directly with with the foundational knowledge coming out of university, and we expose them to the bank over a 2-year period, and after that period, they can infiltrate the rest of the bank and compete for job openings. We do it at the BA level and the master's level, and so we target 2 different levels of preparation, but the intention is similar, to give them the exposure and the seasoning in central bank. Then we have the summer intern program, which we've Actually, the pandemic has helped us with the summer internship program, because what we did is we converted it to an almost strictly educational series where the interns who we recruited, we supervised them, we had them do research, and they did like seminars and workshops where they did their presentations and the like. So it was different from just coming in and being sat in the corner and not having anything to do. So through that process, I think we emphasize a lot more the technical side of the work of central banking and research. And then, like organizations generally in the Bahamas, the build strategy for us comes across a lot in terms of being able to recruit people and help them to get further in the educational preparation. So we do the in-service award, where nowadays we can afford to only send people away to do master's degrees, because you can hire people a lot more easily with bachelor's degrees. But in the past, even in government, the BA was also very, very important in terms of sponsoring people for in-service awards. We provide, tuition subsidies for people who want to do diploma programs or who are doing distance educations for some of the technical master's programs, and we do tuition reimbursement. So all of those help. And just to give an example, the entry level now for the central bank is a bachelor's degree, but we have also our support operations where we hire people, and we have our own security department. In our security department today, our focus is also on giving people the opportunity to use it as an entry point for the bank, and to see the other opportunities within the bank as being within their reach. So that is the subset of employees in the central bank who are the only ones who still get the benefits of support to get a BA, whether the University of the Bahamas most likely, or some other area or the other. The bottom line is that they are not expected to just stay in that area, but to also see the opportunities and to use the support that we have to get the additional education so that they can move into those roles. I think that if I look at the bank and the country, some of the areas where I think we've made good progress has been the kinds of professional training from start to finish that are now possible at home. And the financial services sector has helped, because when I went through the College of the Bahamas, associate was the end of it. Now attorneys and accountants are able to complete the full length of their preparation at home. And that also speaks to many people who I know are CFA charter holders who did the full thing at the University of the Bahamas and then did their CFA program. Now that the university is transitioned into master's programs, we're going to reap the benefit of seeing that churn out some master's degrees in finance and economic and the like, which are needed throughout the system, whether it's banking, finance, ministries within government, or in the regulatory space. I think we will see the benefits, but it has to begin, in my view, at a national level in the primary schools, so people see the exposure and they start to identify the career possibilities. And in that case, as we progress up, I'm a product of, a nice scholarship, being sent from a family island at the end of grade 9, because you didn't have a high school yet, but you live with relatives or older siblings, and you complete your education in the Providence, and you work. Some people work and acquire their college level degrees on a part-time basis and the like. But what that is speaking to is that it's a good model in getting started, but we have to make certain that when it comes to access to quality education at the foundational level, the access is more equalized even more equalized than it is now in our country. And we look at how, we resource our government schools and the like, to provide that foundational support. I think what's happening with the university is a good start in a country, though, with 400,000 people. One university like the University of the Bahamas isn't where we should end it. So we should view where we are now as being, maybe a very important point on a long journey, but look at other countries our size and recognize that there's nothing wrong in aspiring to have more, but recognize also though that there's the public resources that may need to be put in greater amounts into those areas. But to put more public resources in those areas, the public has to acquire and have the resources. And so that is very important for us to think about and recognize that some of those discussions that we have around our tax dollars and how much those tax dollars should add up to really also comes back to the question of how we provide the opportunities at the educational level. Scholarships, traditionally, you identify the brightest students and you give them that. But there's nothing that says only those students have the right or would have succeeded in becoming accountants, economists, and the like. And whatever the path that we sketch for individuals, I think we have a duty to make certain that they don't get constrained or that they are forced in any way to temper their ambitions around their career choices, because there are inequalities that you can fix through access to education. So I think that is very important, in addition to all of what we are doing. And I mean, another way to say it is that no one should have to downsize their vocational dreams, simply because of economic means. Because if that happens, the country is also getting less in the end from the outcomes. Well, thank you very much. I will stop there, and hopefully we have some time for any questions.
I have a question. With most institutions, especially banks, outsourcing a lot of their businesses like call centers and stuff like that to different countries. Is there anything that can be done to see that these positions remain in the country?
For financial institutions, what is often happening is that they are viewing their operations a lot more on a global basis. And so what you've seen, even though you may have seen for many of our institutions, functions being outsourced or relocated, there are also aspects of those operations where the Bahamas becomes a specialist center for some of the activities. I think the opportunity here is that because you can use technology to do a lot more digitally, we can build up talent pools. If we're looking into the future, we can build up talent pools where possible, for example, for the legal services or the accounting services department of a global or multinational to be based in the Bahamas, because you have a group of individuals who can provide those services. So I think the outsourcing model, while it sometimes looks terrible on the surface, it also points at the potential for certain types of activities to be concentrated here. And there are probably some business models that haven't emerged yet in the Bahamas that could emerge around the outsourcing type of structure. So that's something I believe that we should keep in mind when we look at what goes on with those types of activities.
I have two questions. The first one is there any consideration given to introduce financial literacy course in the high schools, so students would be more aware of, things like finance and accounting and how to maybe run a business, that type of thing. And the second one is if one was looking to apply to the central bank, what is the procedure?
Yes, so I believe that there is just general support for getting more financial literacy into the curriculum at the school level. This is one of those examples where I think we just need to move to the next step and begin to incorporate it a lot more. I mean, junior achievement has been doing it, for decades, but it's more, I guess, volunteerism and in terms of how you reach various individuals. But certainly, I think we can find ways to. Well, certainly should be more deliberate in getting it into the school system. Now, insofar as with the central bank, what we've done on terms of the career side of things is we've moved more and more to be accessible to those who want to apply to us for careers. So we operate an online portal, so individuals usually will be able to go there and submit application. It isn't up 100% of the time, but it's better than what used to be. Could probably use some improvements, but that ensures that people can upload everything that they need electronically, and once they go through any screening or selection process, we already have data that continues to pass through. We do a lot of our advertisements nowadays on social media, so whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like. So those are where you see. And I think we also, as a matter of policy, also advertise the roles on the bank's website. So that's a deliberate way. So if there is a job opening at the central bank and it's public, it will be published on the bank's website. So always know that the opportunity exists.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rolle, I have a question. You spoke briefly about the different kinds of money. For example, sand dollar. I want to specifically get to sand dollar. Can you explain to us a little bit how that's going to work and how that's going to eventually become the trading, at the very low level. We won't use the paper dollar, for example. We would now use the sand dollar as a means to purchase and so on. Can you explain how that's going to work for us, please?
Well, the sand dollar is going to provide or is providing the means that for mobile payment applications to talk to each other across the various platforms, so that there's interoperability the same way we work with a telephone system, the same way we do not work with video conferencing, because depending on how many other meetings you have today, you have Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, whatever, and it can drive you crazy. So video conferencing is not interoperable. If not, you just turn on your camera and you'd meet up, but you got to be on the same platform. The sand dollar speaks to making certain that in the payment space with mobile apps, the system connects and speaks. In the banking system, that happens through the automated clearinghouse, and so all of the banks communicate with each other through the ACH. But if you have Apple Pay or Google Pay and the like, they're not perfect unless you can find a way through an ACH or some other mechanism to get the fund from one platform to the next. Where we're focused with Sand Dollar is using it specifically to address, first of all, businesses that are still making the transition away from cash. So this becomes a more accelerated option for them, and also to address a significant amount of non-cash activity and checks that are still being done by all of us, even in environments where credit and debit cards may already exist. And so the real intention is to support more of a transition away from those physical instruments, but also bearing in mind that when we talk about financial inclusion, somebody in Abaco or Cat Island, they might have a bank account at RBC or Scotia, and they might come to Nassau occasionally to bank, and they might be doing some online banking now, but the experience is still not perfect. There's still some characterization of financial exclusion in that process, because the convenience of the service isn't there. So you need to have a way for them to connect up. And if money is circulating digitally, and everybody can send and receive money digitally, and that app connects you with your bank account, it also lifts or improves the experience. And that is a very important deliverable for Sand Dollar in terms of shortening the distance between Bahamians, wherever they are, and their connection with their financial institution. So it is really supposed to bridge that gap. And you want to think about it ultimately as the communications or the payment rail for the public. We're doing a lot of preparatory work to get to the next stage, which will involve more public education around the Sand Dollar. There's also going to be some deliberate interventions to get businesses on board. So we're looking at how during our adoption period for the Sand Dollar, we can remove concerns from small businesses around the cost of transactions. So there's likely to be a period, a no fee period for use of the digital instrument. And we are resourcing ourselves presently to give more attention to the banks, so that the banks can also be at the front line in helping people to get signed up with mobile wallets. That is going to be a very important initiative that will complement some of the repositioning that banks might be doing in some of these remote communities. So what we want to see is, if you are in Eleuthera, Andros, Exuma, wherever, and you're adjusting your physical footprint, we also want to see the intentional actions to help those communities transition to mobile payments. And so the Sand Dollar will be that instrument in the mix.
Good morning, Mr. Rolle. I just wanted to know, is the central bank working on any legislation for digital banks in terms of fully digital banks? So kind of like the neo banks that they have in Europe and the US and South America. And with the Sand Dollar,
you don't need any legislation for it. And that it is only a function of somebody putting together the business model that delivers. There is a quote unquote internet or digital bank in the offshore space that well, they branded themselves as being all digital, meaning that customers don't even think about ever going to a physical place of operation. But it's already possible if someone wanted to take that route.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, was I muted the entire time?
No, you wasn't. We heard you.
Okay, sorry.
Probably, I think are there any more questions? Probably one more. If not, I will ask Dino to give us a vote of thanks this morning.
Good morning, my good friend, Governor Rolle. Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Governor Rolle, it's always a pleasure to hear you speak. We've journeyed a part of our way together, and it's good to see you here. Thank you very much for the time you've taken to come out to wake up so early in the morning and share with us a bit about the central bank and the need for vocational training in the Bahamas, especially in the space of financial services. I applaud you for everything you do there. We applaud you, and we hope that you have sparked an interest in all of us to help to focus more on developing and building youth in our country. On the side of moving the country forward with a digital currency platform, very, very innovative again, and thank you very much. I think that the Bahamas has tons of benefits from taking cash, physical cash out of the hands of public and merchants, and even crime, lowering crime rates is one of the big wins. I think something like that will do for us. Please continue to do what you do, and please try to nudge the arms of organizations like the one I'm in and others, whether it's through the AIBT or whatever. We need to build our own. Thank you very much for everything you do, Governor. All right.
Thank you very much, Dino. And when I do, I will preface it by saying that Dino said I should.
In terms of moving away from cash, I've been lobbying that forever. In terms of needing to train more at home, I really support that. But also, I believe that we should be encouraged to train in the international organizations that are here. We should also be encouraged to train in other areas where they operate, and so that we can bring that knowledge base back here. That helps us a long way. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, I didn't mention it, but one of the things that, the commercial banks have lamented, I don't know if it has changed, is that in their Caribbean regional training, it was very difficult in the past to get Bahamians to want to take posts in some of those other areas to grow. And so that's an example where I think you do want to encourage the training, and you want to encourage Bahamians, particularly when they're young in their career, to be open to rotating through their organizations if the organizations have international parts to them. And because that will help them in terms of their career trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Governor Rolle. I truly appreciate you coming up this morning. It was very informative presentation this morning. It was an awesome presentation this morning. I would also like to as we close our meeting, we'd like to invite Tanisha to give us our raffle drawing this morning.
Good morning again, everyone. Going to share my screen. There we go. Can you see the wheel?
Yes, we can see the wheel.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's shuffle. Congratulations, Father P.
Congratulations, Father P.
Congrats, Father P.
You're going.
Yeah.
No, I ain't going right here. In fact, I'm out in my yard picking some carambola, but thank you very much. Boy,
Always such a
I
do.
won something. I won something week before last. I on a roll, man.
Boy, you can spend that money this morning.
Oh, gee. Oh, my.
Felix has spoken.
Drop that gift off to me.
All right. See what I'm picking. This is a carambola, or some people call it star fruit. Anybody would
Star
like
fruit,
a few,
yeah.
just call me and I'll drop them off.
And thank you, Father P. I'd like to invite Nicolette to give us our four-way test for this morning.
Good morning, all. The four-way test. Of the things we say, of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair
Fair
to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Have a nice day, all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette.
Thank you.
And our final toast will be given by Tamara.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Let's raise our glasses, tumblers, teacups to Rotary around the world.
Thank you all for coming out to this morning's meeting. As we now close out, I know we had an announcement earlier this morning, and those who want to stay behind, we won't be doing a breakout meeting this morning because of the meeting. Those staying back, we just have those persons interested in the golf practices or the golf meeting. So Keith will be heading that meeting. So those who want to wish to stay back, please do so. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll have another meeting next week, and I'll see you next week, guys. Have a great day.
Same to you.